guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I'm up with the next question of top 150 interview questions of lead code. So let's get started with today's question. Today's question is zigzag conversion. We are given a string PayPal is hiring. Maybe this question has come up in any of the PayPal interviews, but I don't know. But let's assume it. But let's assume that we can have any sort of string that we have. And this PayPal is hiring is written in a zigzag pattern on a given number of rows, like the one which is displayed over here. That PAHN, and then read line by line, as I've already read. We have to write a code that will take a string and make this conversion for a given number of rows. So let's get started with this question and discuss the intuition and the algorithm for the same. So let's move further. So I think you all can already see what all I have mentioned over here. So we are given a string PayPal is hiring, and we are given some number of rows as 4, and we have to create a zigzag pattern out of this string. So what is my expected output? I have already quoted in this string, and for a better visual I have drawn something like this check sequence where I've already entered the PayPal is hiring in a zigzag fashion. So I think if most of you have solved a question like spiral matrix ever before this question, for them this would be an easy question and they will get the approach really easily. But for those who haven't solved, not to worry. This question is also based on the similar lines of spiral matrix question on lead code. So the basic intent of both of these questions is to track the direction and also to track the row in which we have to actually insert the element. That's what the intuition of both the questions is. They both are just same, but there is only one difference, that there are 4 directions while we are moving in a spiral, and whereas in this we can only assume, and in this we are only having 2 directions, that is either up or down. And in order to check for these directions, what we can do, we can simply take a variable row, and let's assume that we have only one variable dir that represents the direction either up or down, and let's assume that direction as a boolean variable as true, and this true represents downwards direction, and false will represent the upward direction. And this row basically it checks that whether we are in this limit of 0 to num rows that we are already given, that we are actually working in this limit or not. So that's what the intent of using this approach is. Although in a lot of solutions in the lead code they have given something like cycle length or so, but I don't feel that those concepts are really, like, they are not really grasping in the mind. So instead we can use this approach, that we can take a variable like direction and we can take a variable row, which will actually help us to know in which direction we have to move, and also we can come to know that how many rows we have to go downwards, or when we have to change our direction, either we have to go downward or we have to go upward. That's what the intent of this approach is, and this question is really similar to the spiral matrix question. So let's get started. So what I have assumed is that whenever I am going down, I will set my direction to true, and my row count, my variable row, will always start from 0, and it will go up till my num row minus 1. that up till number of -1 we can actually fill all the characters that are present in this string. And whenever my row becomes equal to num row, I will simply change my direction to false, which will actually represent that I will actually go upwards and I will ultimately decrease my row count. Like in initial, when I will be moving up downwards, I will keep on incrementing, and when I will be going upwards, I'll keep on decrementing. And the moment I get my row to equal to 0, I will simply change my direction to true. That's what the intent is. But in order to store this string in such a way, because in the final output what we have to return this upper row and the second, the third and the fourth, that what all we have in each and every row, we have to return that. Let's mark with some another color. We have to return the actual presence in each row, that is this and then this. That's what we have to return. So in order to track what all is present in each row, I think array of strings is a better choice. So taking array of strings is a really better choice in order to store each and every string for each and every row in this a vector of string, which will actually store all the strings that I have at this point. So now let's discuss the dry run for this code and let's get started. So suppose at very first, let's clear up all this. So now I have a variable direction as true and my row to be 0. So initially when I have to insert the p, I will be inserting in the, I have this vector of strings b. I initially insert p. I will increment my row to 1. My row becomes 1 and this is 0, 1, 2 and then 3. Then when my row becomes 1, I will simply push my a at this point, incrementing the row becomes 2, increment, add my y to this point, row becomes 3, add my p at this point, and now row becomes 4. And is num of rows equal rows? Yes, it is. So I will simply update my direction to false. Fair enough. And I will also decrement my row to 3. Fair enough. And wait, I'll be decrementing my row to, I'll be decrementing it by 2. Okay. So now what about the next character, this which is a? So I will simply check my row. So my direction is set to false. I'll simply add it at my rowth index. I'll simply push it over here, decrement my row to 1. I'll insert my L, decrement my row to 0. I'll insert I, and moment my rows reaches 0, I will simply set my direction to true, and then I'll keep on updating, again adding is, row increments to 1, H increments to 2, and then I increment it to 3, and then it will again increment to 4. But in this case my nums row has become equal to row, so I will simply update my direction to false, and because it means I have to now move upwards and I have to decrement my row by 2. So again it turns out to be 2, because whenever we reach down we have to decrement the current value of row to 2. That's it. And now I will be adding r, decrementing it to 1, I, decrement to 0, and then n. Fair enough. And whenever my row reaches 0 I will simply set my direction to true, and then I will insert g. It will increment to 1, and then I will insert g, and I have inserted my string in this zigzag fashion. And then what I will do, I will simply push all of these strings in my answer plus equal to p of I, and I will keep on pushing and I will return my answer. That's what the intent of this algorithm is. So now let's move to the code part. Let's discuss the code. Okay, so in this case since I have told that I will increment my row, but what I have done is over here that whenever my row reaches nums of row -1, because we are moving from 0 to nums of row -1, I have simply at that point only set my direction to false. So in this way I don't need to decrement it by 2 whenever I reach the last position. And then for row equal to 0 I have simply set my direction to true, and whenever my direction is true I will increment my row, and else I will decrement my row. And then I have inserted all of these strings which are present in my vector to the result, and I'll simply return this. But wait, I have not covered one edge case yet. Suppose I get my nums row to 1. So I have got suppose nums row to 1. So in that case what will happen is I will get something like okay, since my nums row is equal to 1, so in that case I will get something like this as my output. It means my output is same as the initial, because we have only one row in the vector in which we will be inserting. So whenever we have nums row as equal to 1, we will simply return the s, that is the output remains as it is. So now let's run the code. Fair. Now let's submit it, and the code works fine. So the time complexity of this code is big O of n, because we are iterating on each and every character of the string, and the space complexity is also big O of n, because first of all we are storing whole of the structure in some data structure which is our array of strings, and then we are storing it in the answer. And I think this is a better approach, because in the cycle lengths approach also, which I was talking about earlier, first of all it's difficult to visualize as well, but we have to keep all the variables in our mind. But in this case, by using one more variable, that is direction, it has helped us a lot in by not remembering all those formulas that are actually associated with this question. So simply this technique also applies in that spiral matrix question, which we'll be covering up in the coming videos. So stay tuned with the channel, and I hope if you have understood this question, please do hit the like button, and also if you are new to the channel, please do subscribe my channel. And if you feel that I've missed out something, please do mention it in the comment section. I'll be happy to improve myself. And more or less, if you want to connect with me on topics other than DSA, please do connect with me on platforms that I've mentioned in the description. And and wholesomely, if you all like, subscribe and share my videos, it actually helps me to motivate to make more videos like these and to come up with solutions that are easy to grasp and I must say easy to understand for problem solving. And that's all from my side. Thank you guys.